Hey, good morning, everybody. It's great to be back with you all. It's the morning briefing here on this gorgeous Wednesday morning. So great to be back with you all. I can't believe it's July. I mean, it's cold down here this morning. It's actually cold. There's a breeze coming off the ocean. It's overcast. It's just a weird July, no question about it. But things are heating up on the water because there is so much good signal and sign. There are bluefin tuna everywhere. Everywhere. I'll talk about it in a moment. Are they biting everywhere? No, but they are coming back into form, and we're seeing them literally everywhere. I'll be talking about that in one moment, as I say. And now more Dorado on the kelps moving up the Baja coast, and Yellowtail on the kelps, and a lot of bonita around. The offshore scene really coming together. In fact, those 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. boats in San Diego, not only do they have good action at the Coronado Islands, but we'll talk about the Grande and the great day that they had also. And what about the white sea bass fishing? It can't get much better than it is right now. Right at or a little over, I didn't get the exact number, but 100 white sea bass limits on board the Pride out of 22nd Street Landing in beautiful San Pedro, California. It doesn't get much better than that, as they had a 2-day trip and they ended up with 6 sea bass per rod. Sean Roberts, the captain of the Pride, will be joining us just a little bit later in the show. Well, again, it's so great to be with you here on the morning briefing. Last night, we had a fantastic live podcast. So many of you contributed. I can't thank you enough. James Kikawa did a magnificent job explaining about slow pitch jig fishing as well as speed jig fishing. We got into it. We're going to get into it more. Him and I are going to get together and shoot some more instructional tutorial type videos on that. I'm really looking forward to it because, as I said, I've done a lot of fishing in my life, so some of it is been there, done that. I'm okay. I don't need to do it again. But this is something brand new and exciting. I can't wait to give it a shot. All right, let's talk about bluefin, and let's just talk about where we're seeing them. We're seeing them everywhere. We're seeing them down the Baja coast. We're seeing them around San Clemente Island, the front side, the back side. We're seeing them at Catalina Island now. We're seeing them on some of the local areas. On the way back from the Channel Islands up there, Santa Rosa, Sean on the Pride ran into little spots of bluefin tuna between Santa Barbara and Catalina Island. So there is a lot of fish around. Sometimes they bite, sometimes they don't bite. Same old bluefin tuna. That light switch is not fully on yet, but it looks like to me we could be looking at one of those fall type bites. That's when normally you got that great offshore fishing on Tanner and Cortez, and it seems to me a little bit like it's a throwback to one of those kinds of years. Although, as Sean will point out from the Pride, catching these giant bluefin tuna is anything but normal, and he is so right about that. My dear friend Matt Schlurf returned yesterday. He was fishing with his 2 boys on board the Spirit of Adventure. Incidentally, he raved about the crew on the Spirit, said they were fantastic. They were on a 3-day trip, and Schlurf said they got in to some really big fish. That 100 to 180 pound stuff, he estimated they had 20 fish on this trip over 100 pounds. So those are gorgeous big bluefin tuna. The best fishing was at night, and Schlurf said you really got to be geared up properly. You have got to have the heavy tackle, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, the obvious, that you're going to lose a big fish if you don't have heavy tackle. But I'm telling you right now, you definitely have to have it because, as they indicated to everybody on the Spirit of Adventure, this is a numbers game. We're going from school of bluefin to school of bluefin to school of bluefin. Some bite, some don't bite. If somebody hangs a fish on subpar tackle and they're on it for 2 hours, there's one guy on a fish all that time. We're missing valuable fishing time. So it's really important to fish the heavy tackle, Schlurf said. And if you do, you fish like a Daiwa 55 lever drag reel. You fish that. He said you can get these fish in 20 minutes. So it's super, super important. He said the current and the wind were so much on the nights that they fished that you needed a 500-gram knife jig. Knives were getting down quicker and working more effectively. So they had a great trip. As you can see, some of these photos, man, just 3-day trips now look like 16-day trips when you have all the fish laid out. And once again, Schlurf really really lauded the crew on board the Spirit of Adventure. And fishing with his two boys, it doesn't get any better. They loaded up on beautiful fish and had such a great time. Now, even the Thunderbird was on a 2-day trip, and they were out bouncing around looking for these bluefin tuna. They ended up with 17 bluefin tuna. One was just under 200 pounds, and they lost a couple of heartbreaks also. I talked to Brian Burrell, who was on that trip. Brian's a great deckhand, of course, on board the Monte Carlo out at 22nd Street Landing. Brian had a couple of fish. He said that he likes what he's seeing out there. He really, really was in tears almost over a couple of big fish that were lost on the trip. He said there were some monsters that close to 200 pound stuff, and they got one that was that great. So this is all starting to come together. This bluefin is everywhere right now. We got that big supermoon tonight, and as I've indicated to you before, the empirical evidence seems to suggest movement with fish when you have a moon, and we're certainly seeing that. We'll talk about this Dorado in one more second, but heavy tackle, you've got to have it. And as I'm telling you, I mean, there's bluefin at Catalina now. So wherever you're going, if you have heavy tackle, bring it. You're going on one of these 3/4 day boats. You're on the Enterprise. I had a 120 pound fish not that long ago. You're jumping on the Native Son. You're jumping on the Pursuit. Better have some heavy tackle. If you have it, bring it. It's going to come in really, really handy if you run into that big grade of fish. So really exciting stuff. Daytime bluefin tuna fishing on the Spirit and other boats is tough, really tough. But you see the foamers, you roll up on them all the time, and those foamers sometimes react very well to poppers. So that's a lot of fun, throwing a popper and watching a fish explode on it. There's nothing more fun than that. And then you can go to the lighter jigs during the daytime. When they're up and you see them, you can go to a much lighter jig. So some really great, interesting stuff going on. You don't want to fish anything less than 100 pound when you're fishing those jigs. Some guys will fish even heavier, 130. So make sure you are tackled up to get the job done. Now, Slurp also said on the Spirit of Adventure, when they were coming home, they ran over the 43 fathom spot, which is pretty close to San Diego. I mean, those 6 a.m. boats can get right out near there. And he said they saw a lot of Dorado on the kelps, a lot, and also some Yellowtail. And that is confirmed by a catch on board the Grande. I don't know where they made their catch, but the Grande went offshore. They have left the Coronado Islands and now fishing offshore. Yesterday they had a signal, as I told you, and I also told you it takes time to dial this in to figure it out, and they figured it out because the Grande had a great day. 17 guys, 85 Yellowtail fishing the kelps, that is limits, 3 Dorado, 82 Bonita. Really great action offshore. And now I think a lot of those guys, although the islands, and we'll talk about it in a moment, are still going along very, very well, a lot of those guys are going to start fishing kelps. And as time goes by, more and more fish are moving up, and that is a great signal. No question about it. That warm water hugging the Baja coast and now a little bit offshore. Still that cooler water offshore. My albacore prediction is going down in flames quickly here. Still have plenty of time for that, and we're standing by it. The oceanography offshore is still really good for albacore, but I don't have to tell you, we're running out of time once again. But this kelp patty thing is really developing, and I love it for our July 22nd trip on the Mahi-mahi with Captain Bill Wilkerson out of H&M Landing. There's still some spots available on that great trip. Love you to join us. That should be a lot of fun, and I like what is happening. That is really developing very, very well. And as I told you, down in Ensenada, Pongeros down there are also catching good amounts of Dorado and yellows on the kelps. A lot of those guys that I talked to had been seeing it for quite some time. They're starting to catch it now. It's really starting to look quite good on that offshore situation. All right, let me switch gears and talk about the islands. Down there at Todos Santos Islands, off Ensenada, a lot of barracuda, some yellowtail up there at the Coronado Islands. Not bad fishing at all. If you want nice variety, good conditions, and fun fishing, you can certainly find it. San Diego had 7 yellowtail, 50 barracuda, 48 calico bass fishing at the islands. The guys that are fishing the islands are getting bit by going down to the lighter line. Gino Machino was out there a while back, but this is still holding true. Sometimes you drop down to that 20-pound fluorocarbon. www.opsonusa.com. Put in FA at checkout. You fish that lighter fluorocarbon to get a bite, especially when you're bass fishing, sometimes on the yellows. And when you're fishing the barracuda, of course, you're going to go to the iron. But make sure you are observing what is going on. And if you have to drop that fluorocarbon down, do it. Get down to where you can get a bite. Having said that, the grade of yellows at the Coronado Islands is pretty darn good right now. I mean, you're seeing a lot of fish that are in the 20 to 25 pound class, some surface ironfish, a few yo-yo ironfish, most of it 25 pound fluorocarbon with a good hot butt hooked sardine. That seems to be working best of all. San Clemente Island yesterday, the Amigo 25 plus on the Yellowtail. Nice shot for Mark Paisano Jr. running the Amigo out of 22nd Street Landing. That is excellent fishing and looking really, really good. Tino Valentine fishing another island yesterday on board the Freedom, and he was fishing structure. So he wasn't in a bait ground or in a squid nest. He was fishing structure near kelp and rocks. So that meant the casualty rate was going to go way up. But the Freedom with a beautiful day. I talked to Tino last night. I was down at the landing late doing that live podcast. 22 guys, 22 white sea bass. Nice shot. He estimates they lost at least 10 fish. I'm guessing it was more than that, the way that Tino was breaking into tears last night as I talked to him. There was some really excellent fishing on that sea bass, and a lot of it 25 to 35 pounds. Beautiful grade, looking really, really good. And as we take you up to the Channel Islands, you've got to take a look at what happened on board the Pride. Before I go to the Pride, let me just mention the boys up there in the Channel Islands have been sitting on the epicenter of white sea bass for the past several years. Ventura Sport Fishing, 805-676-3474. Cisco Sport Fishing, Oxnard. All those guys up there have been all over it. And now we're kind of getting spoiled and used to it. Let us not do that. I mean, it's been absolutely amazing. Aloha Spirit, 17 guys, 22 white sea bass. Anthony Amalfitano, great friend of mine here in San Pedro, California, super good guy with a wonderful family. Went up, fished the Seabiscuit. He got his 3 fish limits of white sea bass. He graces the cover of our presentation here on the morning briefing today. All right, so Sean Roberts, he runs the Pride out of 22nd Street Landing, and I was there when they came in last night triumphantly with over 100 white sea bass. What a tremendous trip it was. Passengers were so happy. They had so much fun, and they all came over, talked to me, and told me how great everybody was on the Pride. And if you remember, and I mean, I don't know how you're going to feel about this, but our game plan, the guys that were on our last charter on the Pride, that was our game plan, to do what Sean did, but the weather kept us from doing it. In fact, we had to cancel day one when we were planning on going up there. It turned out to be great. So what I thought I'd do is let a couple of the passengers, as well as Sean Roberts himself, tell you more about this fabulous trip. Jake and Max, give me 5, give me 10. You boys are just getting in from the Pride. What a freaking trip you guys had. Let's start with you, Jake. How was it? Speak up nice and loud.
Trip was fire. Thank you, Sean.
That's not Sean. Anyway,
he's thinking Sean Roberts, the captain of the Pride. No, stay over here so you're in frame.
The trip was amazing, folks. Yes. We had a great time. We took a march up to Santa Rosa, and we got into some white sea bass, and it was the best white sea bass I've ever been in. I'm not the most premium fisherman, but I fished a long time, and I'll tell you what, this is the best white sea bass
this is the best. I've never been in a trip and I've been fishing 50 years, so good job.
It was on for 3 hours.
We came in hot. The captain was going to throw him off the boat.
You thought the fish was going to disappear, and no joke, the bite just stayed on, and we were so blessed.
All right, so make sure you stay in here. What were you guys doing? Dropper looping or what?
So we came in, we started on the front.
Yeah.
You know, it was hit or miss. We moved to the back, and we dropped down. The school just never left.
Wow. And dropper loop fishing?
Dropper loop, right in the top, 40-pound fluoro.
Yeah.
Hooked up every 5 minutes.
Wow. And how was your weather? Was your weather okay?
Weather was fantastic.
Good.
No, we were
Good.
very fortunate.
What'd you think about the Pride and Sean and Michael and everybody?
Great crew, Josh,
Yeah,
Mike,
they're
and
top
Sean.
notch. They're top notch.
Yeah.
100%.
Best trip you've ever been on, guys?
Best white sea bass trip I've been on, hands down.
Best white sea
100%.
bass trip. Hey, we're gonna talk best trips. Best white sea bass trip. Yes, sir.
Hey,
Was
thanks for having us.
Pleasure, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Yeah,
being
yeah,
take
here.
care.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. All right, Mike, man, give me 10. Bro, the Pride, 6 white sea bass per rod. What a trip. Tell everybody out there how it went.
Pretty wide open. I've been chasing after this for like the last 20 years.
Have you ever caught a sea bass before?
Over 10 years ago on the Freedom.
Okay, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Was it just Benda? Was everybody bit at once?
yes,
Or it was.
It was as soon as you got down there.
Wow.
And some of mine, I even got them before they even hit the bottom.
Oh, wow.
Or you just get the slack out and the fish is already there.
Oh, my God. So how heavy a weight were you fishing with? Were you fishing a dropper
12.
loop?
12 ounce,
Oh,
40
a 12 ounce?
and 40-pound line.
Wow. And sometimes you're dropping down, you just feel slack and you're
Yeah.
bit. Fish is swimming up with it, maybe you put it in gear and
Instant bendo.
wow. Anything else you want to tell us about the trip? It sounds just like a dream trip, Mike.
This was hands down a grand slam. It's what dreams are made of. At least going for these things.
Yeah, because, ghosts, right? They're hard to come by.
Yeah.
You've waited 10 years
To get into this.
to get into this fight. And now you realized your dream. How about the guys on the Pride? You want to say anything about them?
Awesome food, awesome crew. They worked really hard to find the fish and put us on the spots. I highly recommend them.
How much does Sean pay to say all that? Huh? He pays me all the time. I'm just kidding. All right, Mike. Good job, man.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it. So happy for you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. It's time for the man of the hour. We've heard from the passengers. What a trip on the Pride. Sean, it's good to see you, first of all, my friend.
Definitely.
We had a great time with you on our trip. But this thing, man, what an awesome trip. 6 sea bass per rod. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Well, that fish is biting up north, and if we there was too good of sea bass fishing going on locally. Seems like it's getting a little better now, but it was a Seeker sponsored trip, sea bass trip, so it was online as sea bass special. So we had time, and we had a 2.5 day, so we made a run, and it paid off.
Oh my God, did it ever. This guy, Mike, who I just interviewed, he tells me he peels off a dried up, crappy looking piece of squid, puts it on a hook, drops it down, and he's bent right away. I mean, that is the definition of wide freaking open.
Yeah, it was about as good as it gets. We had to have people stop fishing just so we could make sure we weren't over.
Because counting fish?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this might be a ridiculous question, but was there any particular rig that worked better
No.
than anything else? Okay. So, but did you have to get deep? I mean, a heavy sinker?
No, it was 60, 70 feet.
Wow.
It was, it started out as a pick bite. We got there a little bit late for the morning deal.
Yeah.
So we were kind of banking on having to stay the entire next day to try and catch the rest of our fish.
Yeah.
But we ended up getting basically an all afternoon bite.
Jeez.
And it worked out just because the whole 2-day limits thing, and we could have declaration. You gotta have fish after a certain time. You can't catch them all on the first day, so
Right.
it kind of becomes a pain. But it all worked out.
Perfect.
It was as good as it gets.
Was it like everybody on board bit? Was it an umbrella like?
Everybody that had a bait in the water that didn't have a broken rod or setup goes bit.
That's
for
funny.
about a half hour.
Could you have dropped like an iron down and bounced it a couple times and hung a fish? Do you think?
We hung multiple fish on surface irons, jigs,
Oh.
yo-yo jigs, crocodiles.
Oh my God.
While we were counting fish, Johnny, the kid on the pursuit, he cast it out. There was a fluke that was on the deck that was broken in half and like split open.
Yeah.
And he hooked it, just like a Senko wacky rigged, and dropped it down on a 1/4 ounce slider. It hit the bottom and he got bit.
Oh my God. So
It was good.
wonderful trip, man. I'm so happy you guys did it, man. Slam dunk.
They have a phenomenal fishery up there. It's
Oh, they do, don't they?
yeah,
They've got.
really good.
It's been the epicenter of sea bass fishing
Yeah.
for several years, right?
We try to get our shots down here, and
Yeah.
we do, but just when you have a bite that's going on like that, it's just really hard to, when you have the opportunity to go out there, it's really hard to pass that up.
Yeah, I know, man. It's
I mean,
almost,
where else are you going to go to catch 2-day limits of sea bass in a few hours each day? I mean, it's just kind of.
and you guys are actually in early, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was like, "Uncle, we're done, man. We got enough fish."
Yeah, we were supposed to be in tomorrow morning, and we fished a little bit today to finish up our limits, and we went home.
Tremendous trip. On the way home, guys are telling me, did you see some bluefin?
Yeah, we did.
What the heck is that all about, man? Where'd you see? I don't know if you want to say where.
In
or-
between Catalina and Santa Barbara.
Oh, okay.
There was
Has there been fish seen up there this year in
I
that
think
zone?
there's been fish seen kind of scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
There was no meat, no schools. It was just 15, 20 fish jumping on balls of bait. But
Yeah.
definitely fish.
That's pretty amazing, man. It's hard to look into the future, but is this like a normal year where we're gonna have some good fall fishing? If you had to project, I mean, that bluefin bite has been very inconsistent. Fishing in general has been inconsistent, but it's kind of almost like a throwback to the way it used to be.
Yeah.
And then nobody would go out to the banks until after August,
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
And so, are we back to that? Is that your gut feeling?
I mean,
It's hard to say, but
it kind of just seems like we're, you try and say, oh, we're getting back to normal, but then you have bluefin foaming off of San Onofre. That's
Yeah.
not normal.
yeah,
Or you
that's
have-
true. You make a good
You
point.
have bluefin being caught in April.
Right.
Boats on 3-day trips returning on the first night. That's not normal.
That's true. That's
But
very true.
you can say it looks normal because it's different. I think it's just different periods of the season are slower and more inconsistent. I just think once the weather, the whole thing, and that the inconsistent thing is just the weather.
Weather and water
What's the-
temp, both
Yeah,
both are
the weather,
tied together,
The
right?
weather likes that. The only thing that doesn't really matter to that weather is that sea bass up north.
Yeah.
They actually like it. They like cooler water. They like inconsistent, murky, churned up water.
Yeah.
It makes it easier for them to get in there and do what they're doing, and that doesn't matter as much up there as you can see with all the counts. Boats, Endeavor, Mirage, 66, 100 limits every single day
God,
for the
I
last
know.
4 or 5 days, last couple weeks. Whenever the boat, you can be canceled out for 7 days and get up there for the next day and catch limits in the first hour.
I know. It's amazing.
It's just it doesn't matter for those things as much. It's more our islands, our local islands with conditions and current and water temp.
Yep. And for those of you who have not seen the live show I did with Sean a few days ago, get your PhD in catching sea bass. This guy really covered it all. If people want to join you on the Pride, what's the best way to do it? Call the landing or
Book for next year.
what? You're booked up?
We're very close.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate. We couldn't have asked for a better first year. I mean, we've had some ups and downs, maintenance things and things that we didn't really know about as far as Coast Guard things, just learning curve for our first year ownership.
Sure.
But, I mean, as far as our first year, you really can't ask for. I mean, we're running every single day that we can. Any day the weather's good, we're out.
That's awesome.
We're chartered or open party sold out every single day. So, but if you'd like to jump on the boat, I think we'll have some open parties in August, in September. That schedule should be up in the next week or so. I keep on saying a week or so, but then we just run every day, and I don't have time to actually look at it.
Yeah, I know.
But it should be in the next week or so. And that August, September, that could be more geared towards Tanner, Cortez fishing, day and a half, multi-day stuff. But just check the landings website or go on Pride Sport Fishing Instagram or Facebook or.
That'll do it. Yep. Sean Roberts, I know you're tired. I appreciate you spending some time with me, man. Good job. All right, Sean, thank you so much. Sean Roberts doing a great job. Michael Potvin, the crew on board the Pride, really a great trip. I don't know how it can get much better than that. Taking a look at the coast now down there in Ensenada. Lots of barracuda around University Point. It can be really good right now. We see barracuda also around the Punta area. Good calico bass fishing there. Up and around the coastal regions, it's hit and miss up in the LA Orange County areas. The Monte Carlo went on a school of barracuda yesterday, so we're starting to see some gar here. Wouldn't surprise me to see that pop up into the picture. Grunion run tonight, and you're allowed to take those grunion. I say that because there was some dolphin offshore here just tearing it up a moment ago. I mean, right on the beach. So when they're tearing it up in the surf, that is because there is some fish in there. They're feeding on yellowfin croaker and that kind of thing. Those dirty rats. They shouldn't be touching my yellowfin croaker. But there's been some good surf fishing. I'll get to that in a moment, getting distracted here. So again, a little bit of bass, a little bit of barracuda, nothing to write home about for the most part. We get you up there in the Channel Island region. Island Spirit up there has been doing pretty well, fishing kind of rockfish in the mornings and then going across the island. And there are copious amounts of barracuda out at the islands in the Channel Islands right now. Up there in Santa Barbara Sea Landing, they get a piece of that gar. They get that sea bass also. That has also been pretty darn interesting. I'm hoping this local situation settles down even better. And I forgot to mention Catalina Island. I skipped over that. Some of these local guys, the Enterprise, the Native Son, the Pursuit, they're going to Catalina. I talked to Aaron Graham last night from the Native Son, and Aaron said, we got a nice mix of fish over there at Cat. We've got barracuda, we got bonita, we got bass, some yellowtail, occasional sea bass. It's not wide open every day. We don't catch a ton of legal bass, but good action and fish boiling all over the place. So hopefully they're out there doing their thing and doing pretty darn well right now. And how about Eddie Leland, my good friend Eddie, over there with my other good friend Phil Capricio. Eddie was fishing inside Huntington Harbor, and he caught that big old guitar fish. See that smile on Eddie's face? If Eddie sees a puddle of water, he's fishing in it. I know this guy. No matter where it is, if there's a body of water, Eddie wants to get a line in there, and he had some fun yesterday. That is outstanding to see. All right, along the beaches, more and more of that spot fin croaker are around Bolsa Chica, here in Surfside. Up there, we see a little bit of that in the Santa Monica Bay, but mostly Corvina up there in that neck of the woods. Starting to look good. Tino Valentine, who runs the Freedom, is a big-time Corvina fisherman. He was yelling at me from the top side of the Freedom last night, hey, when are we going Corvina fishing? So him and I are going to get together and do that really soon. Light line, definitely the way to go on the Corvina. 6-pound little trout rod, don't have to make a long cast. Natural baits work really good on Corvina. Sandworms, ghost shrimp, sand crabs. You can go to Big Fish Bait and Tackle here on the corner of Seal Beach Boulevard and Pacific Coast Highway. Pick up plenty of bait anytime. Same thing over there at Sam's Island Fishing Tackle in Carson, California. But there's some pretty good surf fishing. And now tonight with the grunion run, those grunion come onto the beach and predators are right behind them. They're there to feed on the grunion. And yes, you can fish at night and get bit. Some nights are extraordinary. I mean, that bait, that grunion brings in the predators, and you have an ample supply of live bait at your feet during grunion runs and when it's open season. Pin on a bait, toss it out there, and catch a big old yellowfin croaker or a big halibut. I mean, anything is possible with all of that stuff moving up on the beach. And also, for kids, that spectacle of nature, all of those fish, it's just something that you got to see to believe. So, I'm telling you, it's looking really good right now. I'm hoping that the gas pedal's going to stay down for a change instead of taking a step backwards. We'll watch that. But we have seen bluefin everywhere. Tremendous white sea bass fishing going on. Island fishing picking up. The Amigo with those yellows at Clemente. And, of course, the Pride with that huge score. Love what the Grande did offshore with Dorado and yellows on the kelps. And things are looking really, really good. As always, I can't thank you enough for helping our statistics to soar. Thousands of you now are tuning in for the morning briefing every day. I deeply appreciate that. And of course, I deeply appreciate all the support you're giving to Friedman Adventures. Wishing you a wonderful day today. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you again really, really soon.